It's a brand new year, and that means it's time for some resolutions. There's some blue bloods that gotta get healthy.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy New Year. It's January 1st, 2026. How is that real? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, coming at you here about lunchtime in Central Time on New Year's Day. You're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network there is. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch every single day. Special shout out to all you everydayers and to all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord as well. Links for both of those things are in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. You guys, not only is it New Year's Day, but it's a Thursday, and that means we are an exact amount of weeks away from the start of the 26 NCAA tournament. 11 weeks to the day from today, it will be the first day of the NCAA tournament. So buckle up. It's going to be 11 probably pretty quick weeks, it's going to feel like, until we get there. I cannot wait. I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's Eve, a safe New Year's Eve. It's great to be together. I'm literally watching Texas Tech and Oregon in real time here as we pod. It's great to be together. Here's where we're headed on the show today. We got some New Year's resolutions to pass out. There's some blue bloods that got to get healthy. The reigning champs need their guards to hit some threes. We'll get to a couple other things as well. There's not much action going on today in college basketball, a lot of mid-major action, but I tell you what, yesterday there was some good ACC and Big East action. We'll get to that. And then on tomorrow's show, on Friday's show, Andy and I will get you ready for the weekend, where it's the first real big weekend of conference play, including Kentucky on the road in Tuscaloosa. Great stuff there. We'll see how things are going in Tuscaloosa if they can get a win today in the college football playoff. So here we go. It's time for some resolutions, and we got to start with the resolution that everyone talks about all over the world, not just in college basketball. Here's to good health in the new year, and that is the first resolution. And there's two teams specifically I want to talk about. Number one, Kansas Jayhawks and Darren Peterson. Some good news, it sounds like earlier today, is that Bill Self is saying that Darren Peterson has reached, quote, a new level of explosiveness, and that barring a setback, Kansas will have its full complement of players on Saturday, end quote. That is great news for Rock Chalk Jayhawk Nation. It's incredible to see, but here's why they need Darren Peterson healthy. This dude, potential number one pick in the draft, has only played 4 games this season. The Jayhawks are 10-3 overall. Their losses are very understandable losses. It's in sequential order of when they played: North Carolina and Duke and UConn, all top 25 teams, probably even top 15-ish teams. I guess they all are by ranking right now. So the good news is that Kansas has done well even without him. Of course, at least that Carolina loss was with Darren Peterson in the lineup. But despite how Kansas has been able to perform and kind of figure things out without DP, if they want to get to the heights that they hope to reach in Big 12 play without him, they're going to, if they want to get to the heights they want to reach in Big 12 play, they can't do that without Darren Peterson. They can have a good year without Darren Peterson. They cannot have a great or elite year without Darren Peterson. And let's remember, oh, by the way, that Kansas is coming off back-to-back non-Kansas type seasons. Now, there are seasons that for a lot of teams would have been just fine, thank you very much, but it's not up to the Jayhawk standards. And I live I'm a couple hours away from Lawrence, and I've got a lot of Kansas fans around me, and I know that they are not okay with just the status quo. They would like to get back to where Kansas needs to be. So DP hasn't played since December 13th. That was the win at NC State. You see how important those things are. Kansas's schedule, I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, let me actually pull it back up in real time here. The Jayhawks right now are 17th at Ken Palm, which is where I'm pulling their schedule up. They've got the nice thing is they've got a little bit of some breaks right out of the gate. They are this Saturday, they're at UCF down in Orlando. Next Tuesday, they host TCU. And then next Saturday, January 10th, they're at West Virginia. So those are games you feel like Kansas should be able to win without Darren Peterson. But man, I mean, if Coach Self is saying he might be ready to go Saturday down in Orlando, that's great news. And they need it because then the next Tuesday, January 13th, Kansas hosts Iowa State. And then that next Friday, January 16th, they host Baylor. So you really, really need him going by there. But if Coach Self's talking about new levels of explosiveness and things of that nature, I'm feeling good about him being able to go on Saturday, but obviously we'll keep our eyes on it. Anyway, the big picture, got to get Darren Peterson healthy to get to elite Kansas levels. And then obviously the second school I want to talk about, the blue blood that's got to get healthy as a New Year's resolution, is the Kentucky Wildcats. And with them, it's not just one key player like it is with Kansas and Darren Peterson. It is your two bookends, Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance. Obviously, it seems like Jaden Quaintance is good to go now. He's played each of the last two games, which was critical in that win over St. John's a couple Saturdays ago, and then in the game over Bellarmine on December 23rd. Quaintance's impact was felt immediately. And let's remember, yes, Kentucky has 4 losses at Louisville, against Michigan State in these Champions Classic, at home against North Carolina in the ACC SEC Challenge, and then against Gonzaga as well. But all 4 of those losses were without Jaden Quaintance. They've looked like a new team since he's come back. Like they're more invested. Remember that Gonzaga loss on a Friday night? It was like, do you guys want to be here? It kind of felt like that. Like, are y'all in? Are you bought in? But these past 2 games with Quaintance back, it's felt like Kentucky has looked like a little bit more of what we expected Kentucky to be. They're 2-0 with Quaintance, and I'm very excited to see how that's going to be this weekend as they go on the road down to Alabama. What is Kentucky's schedule following that game? Excuse me. They're at Alabama, then they host Missouri, host Mississippi State, at LSU. So you got some, I mean, that Missouri game, you could easily lose that. But then after that, after the Alabama game, you got a couple winnable games similar to what we said about Kansas earlier before you're at Tennessee on Saturday, January 17th. So that's something to watch for as well. The other problem, though, I think actually now the bigger injury issue for Kentucky is Jalen Lowe's shoulder. This poor guy has been in and out all season with tweaking it and doing it, and it's just so hard to know. Did not play. Remember, Lowe in that win over St. John's tweaked it early, went out, but ultimately came back in the second half and was able to play. But it's just like, man, it just feels like it could go in and out at any second. So Lowe did not play in that game against Bellarmine out of precaution. We hear from Coach Pope, and that he's feeling like, hey, we can maintain this thing. I don't know that the shoulder is ever going to get fully healthy during this season, but if we can limit contact and then get him into games, that'll be good. But I mean, conference play, it's like always feels like a different level of physicality and toughness. And so that's going to be interesting to keep tabs on. Kentucky needs Lowe to be in the lineup. Now, that said, it feels to me, and I've been a little confused as to why Kentucky can't do it without Lowe, because it feels like the combination of Aberdeen and Owe and Colin Chandler should be able to take care of the backcourt. But again, none of them are true real point guards, but they've got size. All 3 of those guys are 6'4" or taller. And then you've got Diabate, you've got Malachi Moreno, you've got Jaden Quaintance in the front court. It feels like that combination should be able to do it. But again, Lowe in the lineup just makes Kentucky a different team and shifts everybody back 1 seat on the bus. And so that's going to be critical as well. So first New Year's resolution, some of these blue bloods got to get these dudes healthy. Here's to good health in the new year. But next, let's stay in the SEC because the reigning national champions are struggling with that backcourt. They need to hit some threes. We'll look at Florida and what they need to do to have a better 2026 coming up in just a second. right after I tell you about FanDuel. You guys, tomorrow is Friday, and Fridays always feel different during college basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better when we think about the NBA, because every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel's got a brand new thing called the NBA Happy Hour. It's going to be a 90-minute window of your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers like boosts, bonuses, other surprises drop right inside the FanDuel app from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time every Friday. That's going to be appointment viewing for you now. It's easy to check these weekly specials before tip off and make a move before that 90-minute window closes. Plus, the timing is perfect. You can settle in after your work week is over and get ready for this great night of NBA action. How about some national championship odds from FanDuel? Right now, Michigan leads the way at plus 400, followed by Arizona at plus 800. Then you got a trio, Iowa State, UConn, Duke, all tied for third at plus 1,000. Next comes Purdue and Gonzaga at plus 1,200. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour. Again, every Friday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Hey, we're rolling live here on New Year's Day, and I want to thank you for making Locked On College Basketball your first listen or watch of the day, and making Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. I also want to let you know about our brand new club here at Locked On called the Everydayers Club, a way to get locked in even more in depth with our show. There are 2 different tiers. The higher one is called the All Access tier. You can check both of those out in the show notes. The link is there, lockedoncollegebasketball.supercast.com. All right, here is our next New Year's resolution. Florida's guards need to hit some threes. And oh, baby, that's a thing. We said how often coming into this season, Florida, the reigning national champion, returns their entire front court. The problem is they lose all of these key components of their backcourt. Like, all of them are gone. And the only one that is still playing is Denzel Aberdeen, but we just talked about him being in Lexington, Kentucky, not in Gainesville, Florida, and that's not good for Todd Golden's club. But you bring in Xavier Lee from Princeton, you bring in Boogie Fland from Arkansas, and I feel like this backcourt was very polarizing. Some people were like, oh man, this is going to work. These guys are both electric and dynamic, and I can't wait to see it. And others were like, I don't see it. They're both ball dominant guards. They both need the ball in their hands. I just don't think it's going to work out. Well, unfortunately for the good people of Gainesville, Florida, the latter of those groups has been true. And one of the biggest issues for me is that what happens when you have a front court that's really, really dynamic, but you got a backcourt that can't make shots? People clog the lane, and that makes it much more difficult on your front court. Well, here's the issue for Florida. Right now, as a team here on New Year's Day, they are shooting, you ready for this? 28.2% from beyond the arc. That is 339th in all of Division I. Remember, there are 365 teams. So basically, they're in the bottom 30 of every team there is in three-point field goal percentage. And the main issue is that Fland and Lee are your 2 starting backcourt guys. Each of them individually are shooting under 30% from beyond the arc. Xavier Lee, 6.4 attempts per game. That's the most on the team. He's shooting just 25.3%. What? That's not going to cut it. That's not enough. And Lee had shot better each year of his college career so far in his first 3 years at Princeton, all the way up to 36.6% last year. For Boogie Fland, he's taking 4.2 attempts per game, 4th most on the team. He's shooting even worse from beyond the arc, 22.2%. He shot 34% last year on more attempts per game. And so you've got your 2 starting guards combined to shoot 10.6 threes a game, and they're both making 25% or less of them. So I don't care how good your front court is. If your backcourt guys can't take pressure off them in that way, you can't win at the level you want to win at. Now, here's the good news for Florida. They're really not that far off. They have 4 losses, yes, but they're by a combined 15 points. And the good news for Florida as well is, yes, these guys are missing shots, but the Gators are 2nd in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. And so that is great. Like, hey, yeah, I know we're missing a bunch of shots, but boy, are we hauling a bunch of them in. Just shot like not that far off from 50%. It's 40 something. I didn't put the number in my notes. I have it in front of me, but that's where the encouraging thing is for the Gators. So if Lee and Flan can start hitting some threes, this team is going to be probably in very good shape as they head into SEC play, which let's look at where Florida's first couple games are in SEC play. At Mizzou on Saturday, so 2 days from now, then hosting Georgia, who's better than people thought, then hosting Tennessee, and then at OU, and then at Vandy. So that's a little bit of a more difficult start to SEC play than what we just talked about with Kentucky. So we'll see what Florida has there. The other New Year's resolution, the St. John's Red Storm need to figure out who on earth they are as a team. Man, after last year and everything St. John's did, I think everyone expected, because of everything they brought in and in the transfer portal and those who stayed, like Zuby Ejiofor, for example, that St. John's would just kind of roll. They are not rolling. Coach Pitino has used 6 different starting lineups so far this year. None of those lineups has started more than 5 games together. And so through their first 13 games, St. John's, again, 6 different starting lineups. 9 different players have started at least 1 game this season. And it's a similar positional issue as what we just talked about with Florida, is the guard situation, which, you know, I mean, how often have we brought this up? We talked about it all off season. I don't see a true good lead guard on this team. And others saying, well, you know, Coach Pitino saying it's going to be Ian Jackson, and then Ian Jackson not being able to do all of this stuff. Dylan Darling was the best true point guard on this team, but he's not necessarily St. John's level. But it's just all of that comes together, and it's like, what are we doing here in the backcourt? And when you look at it, only one guard on St. John's team is in the top 4 of assists per game for the Red Storm, and that is Dylan Darling, who is getting 2.5 assists per game and only turns it over 0.8 times a game. So that's good. But the problem for St. John's is he's only playing the 7th most minutes on the team, and no other guards are able to dole it out. Now, of course, in this day and age, it doesn't have to be a guard that's leading your team in assists. But again, if the guards can't take care of it and do it, what are we doing here? But here's some good news for St. John's. They, unlike Florida, are doing very well from beyond the arc. You might recall last year, St. John's was bad from beyond the arc, 30%, 347th nationally. This year, right now, they're shooting 36.5%, which is 70th in the nation. And you're like, Isaac, 70th isn't elite. No, it's not. But 36% is more than enough for them to be able to achieve at a very high level, especially when you've got great front court pieces like Zuby Ejiofor, like Dylan Mitchell, right? And so that's the encouraging thing for St. John's. So if they can figure out who they are, get a consistent starting lineup as they're into Big East play, and get some guards going, they can make some noise. Obviously, St. John's is 2-0 in Big East play right now. But also, let's remember and recognize that the Big East is not that great. So St. John's, because of those 4 non-con losses, is going to have to find some ways to beat UConn at least once and then not trip up anywhere else. I know there's some teams that are looking a little better. Like, for example, Ken Palm predicts that St. John's will lose to Villanova on Saturday, January 17th. But that's the only other non-UConn game. So we'll see what we can do with St. John's. Last New Year's resolution quickly here is, how long can these undefeated teams hold on? We still have 6 undefeated teams in college basketball. Michigan, Arizona, Iowa State. That's your top 3, plus Vanderbilt, Nebraska, and Miami of Ohio, who can just shoot the lights out. Man, it's crazy stuff. So very curious to see who can hang on to the New Year's resolution of we won't lose. It's really interesting stuff. And neat that it's like, yes, Miami, Ohio, a team that's off the radar a little bit, but you got these teams right at the top of the sport absolutely doing it. All right, we need to wrap up the show talking actually about some basketball that was played yesterday on New Year's Eve. And that started with a wild game in Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech and Virginia needed 3 overtimes to get it all settled. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, y'all, there's nothing like college football season tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all, the energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. Like I said, I'm watching this college football playoff game between Texas Tech and Oregon right now. Oregon just got a fake punt. They converted another fourth down, and then they just went for it at 4th and goal, and Texas Tech stopped it. It's back and forth. It's crazy. Did you miss out on getting there? You don't want to do it again when the semifinals come up, right? That's why you got to get into Game Time, which gives the advantage back to you, the fans. The easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets in just a few taps. We think about college basketball games. I don't know how it's this cheap, but as I said, Kentucky is at Alabama on Saturday. You can get in the door for just $61 if you look at these prices on the Game Time app. And I bet, because we still got 2 days, that price is going to even go down as we get closer to tip-off. I love that this Game Time app is incredibly easy to use. You can go from browsing to buying in just a few minutes. They also have this really cool thing I like called zone deals, where you pick the section you want to sit in, and Game Time actually picks the seat for you, and you get to save even more money that way. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball and football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Okay, we're going to talk some ACC. We're going to talk some Big East because there were some games yesterday, and we got to start in Blacksburg, Virginia, where number 21, Virginia, under new coach Ryan Odom, was in Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech. And we needed 3 extra periods to settle this one, and Virginia Tech wins 95-85. Not often that you see an overtime game end with a double-digit victory, particularly a triple overtime game, which is absolutely crazy. Man, for Virginia Tech, you thought for a second, if you're watching this game, they had spoiled their opportunity to get away with this upset victory early on in ACC play. They had a lead late in the second overtime. I think they were up, let me remind myself, I think it was 5 with not much time to go. Nope, I was wrong. They were up 4 with 7 seconds to go. And you feel like, oh yeah, we're good, coming off a made free throw by Ben Hammond. Virginia Tech gets a 3 from Malik Thomas with 5 seconds to go, and they get a foul. Ben Hammond misses the first free throw, makes the second, and Virginia gets the ball into the front court, gets a great look at 3, quite frankly, from from Malik Thomas. He misses it, but Chance Mallory tips in the air ball, and we're headed to OT number 3. And at that point, I feel like a lot of times in a game where the upset-minded team is the team in the lead, and then the better team ties it up, it's like, all right, we're going to go to triple overtime, and now Virginia's going to run away with this thing. And that was not true, man. We go to triple overtime, and instead, it's Virginia Tech that continues to pour it on, winning 17-7 in the third overtime. And that's why you had that final 10-point margin. As you would expect in a triple overtime game, this thing had some wild numbers. Let me hit you with this. Amani Hansberry for Virginia Tech played 51 minutes in these out of the 55 available minutes. That's crazy. But how about this? There were a pair of Hokie teammates, Hansberry being one of them, who both had double-doubles with at least 17 points and at least 15 rebounds. I cannot imagine there are too many times in Hokie history where 2 players in the same game have gotten at least 15 and 15. But it happened. Christian Gerdak, 17 points, 19 rebounds. Amani Hansberry, 17 points, 15 rebounds. Like, that is insanity. How about Ben Hammond? I just talked about he was one of 2 late in the second overtime period there. He had 30 off the bench for Virginia Tech. He was 16 of 18 at the free throw line. 16 of 18. Virginia as a team took 15 free throws in the entire game. Absolutely crazy stuff. But what contributes to it in the third overtime, Virginia misses their final 7 field goals and 9 of their final 10. It's a tough start to ACC play for a Virginia team that a lot of people are higher on, with Ryan Odom coming in, myself included, thinking, hey, this is probably a team that can be top 4 in the ACC, get that double bye, trying to compete with Duke, with Louisville, with Carolina. And unfortunately, that's not a good start to ACC play for them. We'll see how they rebound. Obviously, they're on the road at their rival. Anything can happen, and there's that. But they were almost in good company, because elsewhere in Durham, North Carolina, Duke, number 7 in the nation, was struggling with Georgia Tech, who is not a good basketball team. Duke ultimately prevails 85-79. If you see that final score and didn't watch the game, you might think, Duke seems like they struggled a little bit, but ultimately won by 6. But you guys, Georgia Tech was within 1 point with 3 minutes to go, 76-75. And then they just went on a dry spell for the next couple minutes, while Duke was the team that was able to convert down the stretch. And you can look at this two ways. Some people look at that and say, Duke, what are you doing? You should be killing Georgia Tech, particularly at home. Others might say, hey, it's good for Duke to get a test at home to start ACC play. And remember, this is coming off, Duke had just lost to Texas Tech in their most recent game. And so in danger, they're almost of a 2-game losing streak. The big issue for Duke in this game was their struggles beyond the 3-point arc, where they were 9 of 32, 28%. That's not really good enough for Duke and what they're trying to do, and part of why their struggles happened in this game. One of the more interesting storylines was Damon Stoudemire's frustration post-game. And if you saw any of his comments, you heard this. But it was all about the amount of free throw attempts. Duke had 35 free throw attempts to Georgia Tech's 13. And I know different teams play different styles, and sometimes that happens, but it's not like Georgia Tech was just shooting threes the whole game. And so it felt like there was some inequity there and whatever. A couple of interesting things with this game for Duke, you're probably aware. Not probably. If you're listening to the show, you're definitely aware of how good Cam Boozer is, but you know that his twin, Caden Boozer, has been coming off the bench. Well, this was Caden's first start as a Duke Blue Devil, something that I talked about all offseason. I expected him to enter the starting lineup at some point. I just thought it would be in Caleb Foster's place, but both of those guys start in this game. Very interesting there. For Duke, Cam Boozer leads the way, obviously 26 points, 12 boards, 8 of 15 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, and 7 of 10 at the free throw line. Kowacie Reeves was the guy that had a game for Georgia Tech, 23 points himself on 9 of 16 shooting, made 5 of his 7 3-point attempts. One of the issues for Georgia Tech here was they cut it. Kowacie Reeves took this 3 with 39 seconds left to cut it to 3 at 81-78. That was their first bucket since they had cut it to 1. And what was weird to me is there was still this 9-second differential on the clock. I really thought they should have played it out there rather than fouling. They chose to foul, and I can't blame that. But what was weird to me about how Georgia Tech handled this is they let like 11 seconds go off the clock and then fouled. And it wasn't because they were just trying to stop Duke in the backcourt. And once they got it across midfield, they saw it was just, it made zero sense to me. So either foul and do it immediately, or don't foul and play it out. And they just went in the middle of that. It was bad execution in my mind from Georgia Tech there. Elsewhere in the ACC, Clemson goes to Syracuse, escapes with the 64-61 win. Tigers were up 9 with 3:15 to go. Syracuse goes on a bit of a run and even got a Donnie Freeman look, who Donnie Freeman back for Syracuse yesterday, by the way. Look at 3 to tie it with 9 seconds left. He misses. Nate George gets the offensive rebound, but turns it over, and that's it, and that's all. RJ Godfrey leads the way for Clemson with 14 points. One other ACC game, Wake at NC State. The Wolfpack wins 70-57. Kadir Copeland leads NC State with 14 points, had 7 assists, and also 7 turnovers. Ben Allen Lubin gets a double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds. But the story here was Darion Williams. The preseason ACC Player of the Year had 8 points on 3 of 12 shooting, has struggled a little bit with his shooting. And I think a lot of people, because of that ACC preseason Player of the Year prediction, are piling on. So what did we get post-game? We got an unhinged, curse-laden tirade from Will Wade. He said this, obviously I'm not going to say all the words, but he said, quote, and is like yelling. He's at like an 11 on a 1 to 10 scale. I'm tired of hearing about frickin' Darion Williams. He's blank playing well. It's a terrible question. A terrible question. Let me be frank with you. He affects winning, and everybody's out here blanking about him and all this stuff. He affects winning. He was plus 13 against Ole Miss and didn't hit a shot. And everybody's acting like the world's caving in. The guy's a blank good player, but he didn't shoot it well today. What did he have? Who had 0 turnovers for us today? Darion Williams, 6 rebounds, 4 turnovers. 4 assists, 0 turnovers. So everybody needs to shut the blank up about him. He's a blank good player and the shot's going to fall. I'm tired of answering questions about him. He's really good. We're thankful to have him. End quote. Just like, oh my. Will Wade, again, yelling this whole thing. Obviously, this is coming off of him answering a question that he was asked post-game because he said, it's a terrible question. And look, for me, as you watch Will Wade talk about it, it's almost like he was trying to convince himself that what he was saying was true. And what he's saying actually is true in my mind. Like, yes, he's had some bad shooting performances, but he is still finding ways, Darion Williams, to affect winning because that's what he does. But man, it was, go back and watch it. It's unhinged. It's crazy. Very curious. It's a great win. Wake isn't what they were last year, but still a good team. And so they get a double-digit victory over the Demon Deacons at home to start ACC play. We'll keep our eyes on Darion Williams, but I think obviously as things sit right now, seems like a Cam Boozer versus Caleb Wilson race for ACC Player of the Year. Quickly to the Big East, St. John's goes to Georgetown. Obviously, we talked about the Johnnies earlier, and they win 95-83 here. The story, Zuby Ejiofor, 25 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, so 3 assists short of a 25, 10, and 10 triple-double, a block, and 2 steals. UConn goes on the road to Cincinnati to play Xavier. They win 90-67. This game was never close. UConn started the game on a 30-6 run over the first 10 and change. Crazy stuff. Nice balanced attack from UConn, which is what I've loved seeing from them. Solo ball, Braylon Mullins and Alex Caravan all have at least 17 points. Caravan leads the Huskies with 19. And Demery, just continues to dole out assists and doing it really well. So balanced, so good from UConn. So there you go. That's kind of a wrap up of what all went on New Year's Eve. There honestly is not a ton of great hoops happening today nor tomorrow, but Saturday, man, we're getting into it. We're going to have a great weekend as essentially everybody is getting going in their conference play. So you guys, thanks so much for being here with me on New Year's Day. Again, I hope it's a great start to the brand new year for you. Hope you had a great celebration last night on New Year's Eve. Andy and I will be back with you on tomorrow's show to get you ready for this great weekend. And then on Monday, we'll recap all of it. Again, 11 weeks from today starts the NCAA tournament. I cannot wait. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it now so you don't miss a second. If you haven't joined our Locked On College Basketball Discord, we'd love to see you in there. A great community of college basketball fans. And of course, as I said, there's the brand new Everydayers Club as well. That link is in the show notes. You guys, I want to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Cheers to the Wild Popes. Let's go, McBruins. And until tomorrow, peace.